Ask any gamer over a certain age to name some of their favorite NES games, and chances are, after a few of the usual suspects, you'll hear mention of Mega Man. Maybe even more than once. Since 1987, the Blue Bomber has been blasting his way into our hearts with hit after hit, and the occasional miss. Ever since lead artist and producer Keiji Inafune left Capcom, the future has remained uncertain for Capcom's Blue Robot. In an effort to remind people just why Mega Man is so awesome, Capcom and Digital Eclipse together have created a new legacy collection of the first 6 Classic Series titles that all originally appeared on the NES over 20 years ago. This isn't the first Mega Man collection ever released, and it probably won't be the last. Available for $18.99 on PS4, Xbox One, and PC with a later 3DS version to follow, is this the ultimate way to play the Blue Bomber's original outings? Stay tuned and find out. When it was originally released in late 1987, Mega Man was a groundbreaking title. For virtually the first time ever, you could choose your own order in which you played through the game's stages. The game's sprites were unusually large and well detailed. Each stage boss was a genuine joy to fight, and the music was unlike anything console gamers had ever heard before. Of course, the game was slow to sell thanks to the infamously bad North American box art, but those who did play it were treated to a revolution in action platformers that cemented Capcom as one of the premier game developers, right up there with Nintendo, Sega, and Konami. When the 1988 sequel was greenlit, the mandate was clear: expand everything. Using the power of the Memory Mapper Chip 1, Mega Man 2 offered far richer detail, 2 additional robot masters that brought the total to 8, tons of new enemies and effects, and bosses so large they were utterly jaw-dropping at the time. Mega Man 2 made such an impact that many still consider it to be the best Mega Man game ever made even to this day. After a troubled development cycle, Mega Man 3 came out in 1990 and it seemed to push the 8-bit machine in creative ways, such as the glistening color show of Gemini Man's stage or the animated lava of Shadow Man's stage. The new slide ability and the sidekick dog Rush added greatly to mobility, and game balance was tweaked to offer a challenge to veterans while still being accessible enough to newcomers. In 1991, Nintendo released the Super Nintendo, and although many franchises jumped to the new platform, Mega Man 4 came only to the NES, and that began to fragment the fanbase. To this day, there are many people who don't like Mega Man 4 merely because it happened to be an NES game and not, as some people saw it, a Super Nintendo game. Those who did give it a chance got a game rich in detail and polish. 4 offered the series a fresh new charge shot mechanic that made it distinctly different from the first 3 games. In 1992, Capcom followed up with the release of Mega Man 5, also on NES. Being such a late release game, Mega Man 5 boasted some of the best graphics the NES was capable of. This time, the aim was refinement rather than innovation, although there was still plenty of innovation to be found, as Wave Man Stage and Gravity Man Stage both proved. Of all of the classic series, Mega Man 5 remains my personal favorite, and just like 4, it's one that remains fairly obscure because it happened to be an 8-bit game during a 16-bit generation. Finally, in 1993, Capcom released the last Mega Man game on NES, Mega Man 6. Since so much had already been done, 6 mixed things up by removing features and replacing them with new ones. The robot dog Rush was replaced with the power and jet suits, which allowed Mega Man to punch through certain walls or fly to otherwise unreachable areas. The few who chose to play Mega Man 6 were in for an incredibly rich game in detail and hidden secrets. After the release of Mega Man 6, Capcom released Mega Man X, and the future of the classic series remained uncertain until the release of Mega Man 7 a few years later. But unfortunately, Mega Man 6 is where this collection ends. Legacy Collection collects all 6 original titles and allows you to play them in any order. Want to jump right into Mega Man 2 before ever playing Mega Man 1? Go right ahead. These games all offer standard emulator functionality, including a separate save and load state for each game, the ability to stretch or scale the screen to your tastes, add visual filters, remap controls including a ludicrously fast turbo fire button, and so on. The collection does run in 1080p HD, but does nothing to enhance the emulation. Any instance of sprite flickering or slowdown in the original game still occurs here as well. Some may see this as remaining authentic, but I can't help but see it as lazy, especially since these are issues that Capcom had already addressed 16 years ago when they released the Rockman Complete Works set for the PlayStation 1 in Japan. In that collection, you could choose to play the games in their original unaltered form, or you could choose to play them in the enhanced Navi mode that updated the HUD, removed all sprite flickering, and offered a host of other benefits. Another area where I find fault with Legacy Collection is the emulation accuracy. Digital Eclipse emulates each game with a color palette that doesn't quite match up with the color values of the RP2C02. It's close, but everything looks kind of washed out, especially when you directly compare it against the originals. On the other hand, one of the visual filters on offer is the Monitor mode, which appears to reproduce the color palette of the RP2C03, the RGB PPU only found in Nintendo arcade machines. This palette presents the Mega Man games in rich, vibrant colors, and is one of the cooler extras on offer. Speaking of extras, Legacy Collection offers the same enemy database museum mode that was originally included in the Rockman Complete Works. There is also a sound test, and a large amount of high-res artwork scans including some unique concept art. This stuff is all directly taken out of the R20 Rockman art book. And while its inclusion is definitely cool, die-hard Rockman fans have had access to this stuff for many years now. The real meat and potatoes of the extras here are the various challenge modes, which can range from simple to the absurdly difficult. These are all bite-sized challenges that put you in various situations from each of the games in a style very similar to the NES remix packs on Wii U. How quickly can you clear through a slew of stage elements, or vanquish a boss, or survive a consecutive boss rush? These challenges offer something new to even veterans who could play the normal games blindfolded. Once again, this isn't the first Mega Man game to offer challenges, but credit where credit's due. Unfortunately, as of the recording of this video, Legacy Collection does randomly suffer from sound issues, especially the PS4 version. Every now and then when playing, the 2A03 sound will degenerate into a staticky mess. It does seem to fix itself for the most part, but hopefully this will get patched out completely. Ultimately, although I do like the new challenge mode, to me, Mega Man Legacy Collection is more like a Mega Man Lazy Collection. As I mentioned before, Capcom had re-released the first 6 Famicom games in 1999 on the PlayStation as the Rockman Complete Works. With the Rockman Complete Works, you could remove sprite flickering, add rumble support, real-time shoulder button weapon change, have a shiny new HUD, have remix music for Rockman 4, 5, and 6, unlock post-game extras such as the ability to jump higher or have twice as much weapon energy, plus challenge modes, and even play without your helmet on. What's more is that all 6 of the Rockman Complete Works games are already available on PSN if you own a PS3, PSP, or Vita. Unfortunately, you'll need to jump through a few hoops if you want access to them all, since for whatever reason, Capcom only released the first 4 Rockman Complete Works games on PSN in the West. You'll need to create a Japanese PSN account and import yourself a 2,000 yen points card to access Rockman 5 and Rockman 6 Complete Works. The reason for this is because Japanese PSN points cannot be purchased with a non-Japanese credit card. There are plenty of sites that sell Japanese PSN cards, but I would recommend sticking to a well-known site such as PlayAsia. That's not an endorsement, it's just friendly advice. At $5.99 or 617 yen each, collectively, the Rockman Complete Works set are more expensive than the Mega Man Legacy Collection, but you're also getting superior versions. If you're wondering why go to all the trouble to import Rockman Complete Works when they can be bought on the PS2, GameCube, and Xbox as Mega Man Anniversary Collection, well, the fact of the matter is Atomic Planet, the developer who ported the Rockman Complete Works set, did a poor job at it. In addition to removing nearly all of the extra features found in Rockman Complete Works, each of the 3 versions has its own problems. On GameCube, they completely omitted the remix soundtracks, reversed the control scheme where B is jump and A is fire rather than the other, proper way around, and this build also lacks progressive scan. On PS2, everything runs in 480i and the game simply cannot be played in 240p RGB. This version also forces you to use a DualShock 2 controller, as it absolutely requires an analog signal for no good reason whatsoever. This means that any of those fancy third-party controllers, adapters, or arcade sticks, or even D-pad focused fighting pads cannot be used, as they only offer digital inputs. Finally, on Xbox, although Atomic Planet finally did address the progressive scan mode, they introduced numerous new visual glitches that can even crash the game on occasion. And forget about playing it on the 360, as it's such a mess there that you'll regret even trying it. In conclusion, I had been rather excited for the release of Mega Man Legacy Collection. This was Capcom's golden opportunity to show gamers they still care and could do Mega Man justice. Instead, we get a bare-bones collection of the first 6 games that omits nearly everything Rockman Complete Works brought to the table, not to mention the fact that this collection ignores the arcade games and Mega Man 7 and 8, to say nothing about Mega Man 9 and 10 also being MIA. Unless you are only casually interested in these games, you are far, far better off getting the Rockman Complete Works set on PS3, PSP, or Vita. It is a hassle to have to get them that way, but you'll be glad you did. Don't be intimidated by the Japanese if you can't read it. The menus are very straightforward, and if there is demand for it, I'll be more than happy to make a video translation guide for you guys. Well, that'll about do it for this review, so thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop them in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe. Until next time guys, thanks for watching and take care.